Financial gurus love to tell us that we are wasting our time trying to save money by cutting coffee. Let's see some clips here.
I don't care how many Starbucks lattes you skip, you're never going to save your way to rich.
How many times in the last month have you worried about your lattes or how much you're spending on some unsubstantial thing? Here's what you should be focused on instead.
When it comes to reformed shopaholics or overspenders or anybody who's felt the need to do a no-buy, this advice might not be the best. The guru who created the latte factor, David Bach.
Well, talk to us about the latte factor. What are the comparisons between finances and lattes?
Yeah, well, because here's the deal. The 4 out of 10 Americans right now cannot get their hands on $100 in case of emergency.
Jesus.
Take that
4 out of 10.
4 out of 10.
That's better than herpes. Herpes is only 1 in 3. Jesus.
Take that in for a second. Wait, 6 out of 10 Americans can't get their hands on $1,000 in case of emergency purposes.
Yeah.
So 7 out of 10 Americans living paycheck to paycheck. And what I've been teaching now for almost total of 26 years is that we got to break this. The way you break it, the way you stop living paycheck to paycheck is you realize that small amounts of money can change your life. So I created this concept called the latte factor, which is the idea that if instead of wasting $5 a day on a latte or a bottle of water or cigarettes, if instead of stopping at Starbucks right here on the corner, you took that $5 a day, you put it inside your retirement account, you paid yourself first, you could become a millionaire. And so like literally this metaphor has gone all over the world because it can change your life. $5 to $10 a day of paying yourself first. Compound interest, what's not taught in school. That's powerful. And if you're listening right now and you don't have any savings, is focus on getting $1,000 in savings. Get $1,000 in an emergency account. I call it the 100-day challenge. Save $10 a day for 100 days. You're now wealthier than 6 out of 10 people in America. That's a great place to start.
I don't think he realized that people were going to take this coffee thing so literally. You'll hear gurus talking about it, and it's almost like a point of pride that they're not trying to get you to cut down on these little expenditures and things like coffee's not going to move the needle. You don't have to stop spending money on your coffee, even though coffee has gotten very expensive. I think we can all agree, especially if you're buying not coffee, but a warm milkshake and you're spending money on that macchiato and it's venti sized or whatever. You're not spending just like $4 anymore. You're spending more like 10. That is not the point. Let me get back to my point. The point is about David Bach not really just thinking about lattes, is that he's thinking about anything that you spend money on daily, almost a habit, that can add up. In his example, of course, he got somehow to like thousands of dollars that you could have put into the market if you weren't buying lattes, sure. But for other people, this could be alcohol, it could be edibles, it could be little shopping that we do at certain favorite stores, it could be streaming services. The point is that the little things actually do add up, and whether it is, to me, just like $20 a month, it actually means something, especially if that spending is not something that is important to you. And this is something we'll get into. For us professional shoppers, it's usually multiple small purchases that actually do move the needle on our bottom line, on our bank account towards empty. Let's go over why you might not consider this specific advice from these gurus if you consider yourself an overspender, a shopaholic, a reformed shopaholic who's trying to do better. I really do like these financial gurus. I watch Ramit Sethi every Tuesday. I'm watching his Money for Couples. I think the advice he gives is great. This video actually came from the most recent Nisha YouTube video that I just saw.
How much freedom you actually have and how you spend your time. If you're spending thousands on a car you don't really need, or paying a mortgage so big that you can't sleep at night, it doesn't matter how many coffees you make at home or how many social events you'll skip. You will still feel stuck. So before you vow to buy nothing this year, make sure your necessities such as housing, transport, insurance, childcare, they take up as little of your budget as reasonably possible. That way, you have room to spend on what actually makes life meaningful. And that might look completely different for everyone.
And it was kind of a build up because I've seen enough of the advice about spending on your coffee to feel like I needed to say something about it, basically. And again, 99% of what these people say, I'm like, yeah, that's great. And a lot of us people who talk about finances on YouTube, you'll find that we are kind of, I wouldn't say an echo chamber. Like I say in a lot of my videos, I think it's really important to hear things from different people, different voices, different personalities, different ethnic backgrounds. All of these things are really important because you never know who's going to actually make that message into something that you can really take home and do something about. So I think it's important for me to say that this is not a hit piece. I really do like these people. I love what they say. And yeah, if you watch any of my other videos, you know that Ramit Sethi is like key in the like fundamentals of the things I say. But again, I want to just kind of emphasize why I think on this point of not thinking that you can save your way to being wealthy is incorrect. It's almost like when Dave Ramsey talks about credit cards, a lot of us will listen to Dave Ramsey about being debt-free and paying things back. We listen to all that, but then when we get to the credit cards, we're all like, if you can pay your credit cards in full on time every month, Dave Ramsey's credit card advice is not the best. You're just like, I'm gonna ignore that part and take what matters. And that's what I'm saying for the rest of these gurus is basically like, maybe this part you don't listen to as hard. And that's because not worrying about small spending is that spending is a big deal for this group of us who tend to be big spenders in basically every category. You know, we're people who don't have a math problem with spending. It's not like a math issue. I mean, a lot of us could definitely benefit from having a good budget that we refer to. But again, it's not a math problem, it's a behavior problem. I think the thing about trying to limit your coffee every day, it presupposes that coffee is important to you, and maybe the ritual of getting coffee out is important to you. And I mean, I think caffeine is kind of important to all of us, but maybe it's that ritual. Maybe it's something that in your day you feel as self-care or something. But for a lot of us, we don't have just one money dial. We have everything as a dial. So when we are into coffee, you might be buying coffee out if you're like an overspender, overshopper, whatever, but you also might have bought that Keurig. You might have bought that nice, insert Breville, and you might have bought that nice coffee maker, but you still are in the habit of buying things out because it is kind of ingrained in you to spend some money while you're out, to have that dopamine hit coming from being out in the world and giving your credit card. In Nisha's little clip that I played, she's talking about how we need to protect the things that are meaningful. But for us, half of our spending is thoughtless and routine, either on our apps, on Amazon, ordering things that come into our mind that we think we need. We don't need to protect the things that make life meaningful because we already are spending so much money on just about everything. And we don't really have a concept of what makes life meaningful when we are just out there spending because we're bored and because it's Saturday. Literally, our money is gone before we have decided or have thought about what actually matters. And honestly, it's not really about coffee, just like David Bach envisioned. It's not about coffee because for us, again, our money dials are dialed up on so many different things that it's like the habit stacking that James Clear talks about all the time. But in our habit stack, getting our coffee is just the beginning.
This is so cute.
You know you want it, buy it.
Okay. Oh my God, I love pumpkin pillows.
Buy it.
Okay. Oh my God. Hello? I love this.
Buy it, girl.
Okay. This chair is so cute.
Buy it.
Okay.
You've seen in my past videos or in anybody's shopping video, think about the fall videos where people, they start out, here we go, it's fall shopping time, it's Christmas shopping time, it is spring. Everybody starts with that Starbucks and then they're going to Target and then they're going to Home Goods and then they're going to TJ Maxx. This is an ultimate habit stack. Spending is not a decision in this case, it's just a habit. And even more specifically, it wouldn't be a video if I didn't say something about dopamine. That habit stack that we have formed from our shopping, starting with coffee, going to the stores, it's a habit stack and it's dopamine hits, reliable dopamine hits. It's just not, it's like a maladaptive habit stack instead of one that is actually giving us good outcomes. So when the gurus say, don't worry about the coffee, don't worry about the little thing that you're doing every day, my former overspending brain, me at 20, me at 30, before 2018, me before 2018 when I had my financial awakening, is thinking, okay, well, this is another excuse not to interrupt the perfect pattern, the perfect habit stack, because it's not gonna really move the needle anyway. If you watched my video from last week, some of those people in those TikToks, you can tell that the feeling that they have about their spending is that they should be able to afford XYZ little thing because it doesn't move the needle, or just because it's like a simple thing in this otherwise kind of gray, dismal world that they felt like they should be able to afford. And in some cases, it's just not, or or just the fact that all of these little things have added up. So go watch that video if you haven't seen it, because I kind of put together how these habits from your 20s, 30s, and whatever will end you up in your 40s, 50s, and 60s that you didn't really expect to be in. I feel like the people in the videos can't really relate back to the little habits that they had. This advice also plays in the face of the fact that you can have any salary in the entire world and still live paycheck to paycheck. In that video, there are people who make six figures, obviously people who make less, and then people who are making like $300,000 and still living paycheck to paycheck. So your habits and the things you do daily and the little things you spend your money on do matter. I do understand what the gurus are saying though. If you are overextended, house poor, all that kind of stuff, or if you make $100,000 a year and you're buying Bugattis or leasing Bugattis, and having a car payment, these are things that are going to be problematic. And yes, like in the context where you are so house poor that you're already spending most of your paycheck, that extra $6 that might make you happy might be worth it. But again, for us who are overspenders, and I would argue for most Americans who tend to be overspenders and not minimalists, I mean, look at all the storage places that there are in this country. It's because we have so much stuff and we've bought so much all the time. Telling people that are leaking money in 1,000 different directions, including coffee, including little things at TJ Maxx, telling them that that doesn't really move the needle, it's just not true. If most Americans don't have $1,000 to pay for an emergency that they have, I think it's also clear that the little spending we do every day, it could add up, and you could save that $1,000 from that little bit that you're spending every day. And again, it's not that we're spending just on Starbucks. A lot of us shoppers are spending on Starbucks Plus. So while I think that it's important to remember the big things, the big expenditures, I think just the fact that there are so many people who are living paycheck to paycheck on large salaries would go to prove that you can get pretty much everything wrong. And I think a lot of overspenders probably do. If you're an overspender, you're often somebody who worries about or thinks about the way things look. We buy clothes, makeup, shoes. Those are like the usual big categories of things that women especially are buying and overspending on. And often you're also buying that nice car because who doesn't want to drive around looking amazing in their BMW, Range Rover, I feel like Mercedes, whatever it is. And we're leasing these cars because it is another status symbol, another thing that leads you to be that ideal self. And so yeah, we're often getting it wrong with the house. We're young, but we don't want any roommates, or we don't want to live with our parents. Did that for a while. And we also expect to have a nicer car just like everybody else around us. So in that case, we're already kind of overspending on those big categories. You got to give somewhere. There has to be some give and take with the pain of saving somewhere. And if you're already overspending in the big categories, to say that the little things won't matter. Yes, you're not going to feel comfortable ever. You're not going to feel like you're getting ahead. You're not going to feel confident with money, but you will have something you can scrape together, maybe for an emergency or something else, if you don't spend on the little things that you end up recognizing don't really make you happier. I also know from my own life, I definitely don't spend over 30% on my housing costs of my salary. I have a car without a car payment that I bought used, 2014 Toyota. So technically I'm getting those areas correct. And I lived with my mother before I had those bills. It really wasn't until I stopped just mindlessly spending and I stopped myself from just being like, okay, I can get this out. I can buy I think at the time people were still buying bottled waters in grocery stores or whatever, but I could go get a bottle of water at the gas station and get my packs of gum because I chewed a lot of gum at that time. Plus these other things that I was buying every day, probably coffee as well. I would buy like dirty chai or something like that at Starbucks. And when I stopped buying those things out, when I stopped buying coffee, when I stopped buying something every time I left the house and tried not to spend money every day, it really adds up because it is those little things that on Saturday, going to TJ Maxx, going to Marshall's, going to Hobby Lobby or wherever, it is those little things every day that would inflate my shopping and gifts category and drop the amount that I could send to my high yield savings account, which I was trying to fill at that time. So to say that it doesn't really matter is false. And I do understand why they're saying it. They really want people to understand that there are big categories where people spend a lot of money. Housing, cars, food, people spend a ton of money. But I would say that the getting lattes and doing all this stuff would count as a food category or the restaurant category or whatever. The idea of not eating or drinking a latte in your house or making your coffee at home is almost, to me, like the way I feel about that now, it's like kind of getting DoorDash, which I've never done actually. I need to think of it. It's getting takeout. I don't often get takeout because it just seems like it's a luxury to me to not eat the food that I've bought from the grocery store. Whenever I'm not eating food that I've cooked for myself or put together, because I don't really cook that well, it's to me a luxury. So I think that for a certain group of people, DoorDash is something they don't even think about as something that's a big deal. And they do that all the time. Other people might get takeout all the time, and to them, that's not a big deal. And then people who get coffee every day, to me, it's like on the scale of the people who get DoorDash, because I'm just like, wow, that's a big luxury to be able to get all that sugar and get all that caffeine and take the markup from that is a luxury. If you are somebody like me, somebody who now used to, but definitely reform shopaholic type, reform overspender, or somebody who spends a lot, just trying to think about things in those terms as, man, that would be a luxury, and elevate them instead of thinking this is something that everybody does and so you should be able to do it too, is problematic. Especially for us who just like everything is something we could spend money on. It's important to remember that the spending habits we have now compound in the future. You have to know the categories that actually light you up, that make you feel like you are calmer, like you are doing something that is like self-care behavior, just something that should be in your life and that is important for your life. If coffee or whatever your latte factor is mindless or emotional spending, don't conflate it with things that are actually meaningful to you, because it will play a role in you keeping more money than goes out. It isn't about demonizing coffee, makeup, cleaning supplies, whatever your specific category is. It's about knowing yourself. If your latte factor is something that you genuinely appreciate, love, and it is part of your money dial, you consciously chose it, then great, definitely keep it. It makes sense that if you're obsessed with coffee and you have to have it out, like Paula Pant says, you can afford anything, but not everything. But if it's mindless, emotional, or part of a spending habit that you're trying to break, don't confuse that with what makes life meaningful and things that everybody should get to have, because there really is not a category of things that everybody should get to have, whether it's travel or clothing or shoes or whatever else it is, eating out, that people feel like other people are doing that, then you should be able to do it too. For overspenders, habits do not stay small. They compound financially and mentally. Sometimes doing better with money doesn't start with earning more or optimizing investments. It starts with noticing what quietly keeps money flowing out and deciding on purpose to interrupt it. I hope you have a great day.